Hey guys, welcome back to Crossing the Lines with me, Johnny, and in turn, yes, she laughed. That's Data. That's right, guys. That was her cue, but Data doesn't take cues too well because she's a good woman. So
I didn't think you were done yet, but okay.
yeah. So we're back. This is a topic of ours that we kind of waited on purpose to see what things rolled out on and stuff like that, and I think we have enough information. This is a an episode. This is what episode five, Zeta. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is episode five, and this is going to be about Puerto Rico and so far the outcome of things that has transpired so far and things like that. And the president had just finished visiting Puerto Rico. Before we talk about that, I just want to give our condolences out to the people of Las Vegas and the people who have been deceased, the families who have been affected by that horrible terrorist act, even though people aren't calling it a terrorist act. I'm still going to call it a terrorist act. And our condolences, go out to them. And but the topic today is definitely be talking about Puerto Rico, and it's going to kind of have a different kind of range to things because there's so much stuff just kind of try to cover. But the biggest thing right now, recently, a couple of days ago, the president visited Puerto Rico and he started kind
Playing basketball with paper towels.
Paper towels, and I guess the Puerto Ricans were the hoop, and he was just trying to make a 3-point shot. It was very disturbing. My heart kind of fell out of went down to my ass, and just to see our people being treated that way, where other presidents in the past, whether they liked people or not or whatever, they knew how to be politically correct and at least handshake a couple of folks, maybe give a hug to one person, and kind of hand out stuff and not tell people that they don't need the flashlights anymore. But the power's not back on. So it's a lot to digest. The governor of Puerto Rico, he's pretty young. I think he's like 36 years old. He's very inexperienced, probably, and so is his staff. So, I think the question that we had to probably ask later on, once this tragic event is kind of worked through, is what was the true plan before the storm hit, even if there wasn't.
I'm so glad that you kicked off with that, because that was going to be one of the topics that I wanted to bring up as we talk about what's going on in Puerto Rico and what has been done and what hasn't been done. But exactly to your point, we as a country, I think the president knew prior to the storm hitting that we have an obligation towards any rescue relief, any relief efforts that were going to be needed in PR, right? So why was there not a plan prior to that? And that's one of the things that's really has frustrated me throughout this whole thing, because it's, after the fact, there was total devastation, and I can understand and I can appreciate the fact that it's hard, right, to get to everybody, especially people in remote locations where roads may have been washed away and bridges were washed away and that. But where was the planning ahead of time, especially since it's a country in the middle of a big ocean, as our president has stated, right? So because it's, in the middle of this massive where was the plan before that? And that's the most frustrating part, because we could have had supplies already there, right? We could have had supplies waiting. We could have had military waiting. We could have had FEMA ready to come in after the hurricane went through. But none of that happened at all. They literally left people to die.
There's a few things with that, though, right? So,
oh Lord, Johnny, you start defending the president. I'll be mad.
There's a few things with that. just to give people perspective, because people think I'm a very logical person. I don't really have too much fucking emotion, right? But we have to really put it out there. Okay, so the governor, like any other state, is in charge of that state, right? And the federal government does not intervene until that governor gets permission for the federal government to do so. Okay. Like I said, prior.
So he couldn't have requested help before, like a plan in place.
So yeah, so the governor of Puerto Rico, I would have to assume yes, put that into action. But to my thing is the local administration of the government of Puerto Rico, which is the governor and his administration. I think we're very inexperienced folks. Like I said, he's young. He's 36 years old. So young guy, not a bad guy. But I just think there's other inexperience happening with that, right? On top of that, it's an island that is in the big ocean. So there's no neighboring state like what happened in Florida. I live in Georgia, so there was a lot of people or a lot of companies that were waiting it out close to the border of Florida and Georgia to send the trucks from the power companies down to help out Florida recover faster. Well, you can't do that. There's no big bridge coming from Florida to Puerto Rico, right? Where would you stage all that? And you can't really risk sending the military or supplies because they don't have supplies get damaged, right?
The same way they're getting down now.
Well, we're talking about ahead of time. You really can't. We're going to stage the Dominican Republic and say, hey, hold this for me. Let's see if Puerto Rico gets hit and go to the yard.
No, you could have put it right in the shelters. There were areas, right? They were considered, safe. Right? That's why the hundreds of thousands of people went to shelters, right? So they could have.
And that was a chance that people took. There's a 50-50 chance that either it got blown away, or it stood up. You can't take a chance with supplies.
I'm not buying that. I'm sure there are structures that are deemed, sound enough to make it through a Category 4. There's got to be one structure in the entire island of Puerto Rico that could have been inspected and said, you know what, this one might actually make it through the storm. So let's
remember that these people do not build based off of storms, unfortunately. That's why everything was freaking destroyed, right? That's why everything was so much devastation that was happening, right? Because it's paradise. It's an island, right? It's in the Caribbean. So everything's built really cheap because, again, when you have companies coming in, they're going to build as cheap as possible. They're not going to build it to withstand hurricane force winds. Now, should they? Absolutely, I would think so. But again,
okay, so then forget about having the supplies already there. Okay, forget about that. How about here in the mainland? How about having supplies ready to go as soon as that storm was over? How about that? We have the necessary resources to have gotten supplies over to there in a much more timelier manner than what supplies are taken over there.
Sure we do. And the problem with that was that the airports were jacked up. There was no tower no more. So how are these planes supposed to land with no tower? So the FAA had to go ahead and build a temporary tower to give these aircraft signals, hey, this is where we're at. Let's land here.
So you're saying the response time? You're saying the response time was a good response time? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying logistically, Puerto Rico was screwed. Response times, they should have thought all of this out in a worst case scenario, but obviously you can see our government never played out a worst case scenario for Puerto Rico. Because Puerto Rico is not in no one's mind in Washington. Right? So because of that, yes, there was no proper planning. Yes, like I said, the governor and his administration did not know really what to do because there was really nothing that he could have done. Then you have the mayor of San Juan talking, and she's getting a lot of airplay because she's being a little defiant, is what they call it. But she's speaking the truth. You know what I'm saying? And she's speaking for San Juan, really. And the rest of the island isn't still despair. The death toll just doubled up. It's at 34. There's going to be more because you still can't get to places. And that's what people tend to forget. They see, now they're showing that people are getting supplies. That's only in one city in San Juan.
That's only in San Juan, exactly.
Right.
So this 45, this 45 landed in Puerto Rico yesterday, was it? Tuesday? And it's like, oh, everything's great. There's light, there's power, in San Juan, because that's the only place that they're focusing on. But I know for a fact from people that I've been able to finally make contact with in other areas who have texted me and said to me, FEMA's nowhere to be found. No one has come. A friend of mine said to me, you can tell me more because there's no communication on the island. So you tell me, what's going on. And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, they're not really reporting a whole lot, They're really not. So we kind of know the same thing.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks later, there are people who still have not seen anyone from FEMA. They haven't seen any supplies. They haven't seen any first responders. Nothing. They're left to fend for themselves. There's food supplies are running out. There's no water. Like, it's just completely unacceptable.
Yes, it is. It's a huge humanitarian disaster, I think, and I think the military had more of a presence in Haiti when the earthquake happened in Haiti a few years ago. And I think our presence, the military presence, only maybe went up to 7,000 or maybe 10,000 at this point, which is not enough. Obviously, even the 3-star general they put in that was going to be in charge of this disaster. Even said it himself when he first got there, he doesn't have the proper equipment or the personnel to really execute a plan. He said that himself. So, and the mayor of San Juan is really giving the true story of, hey, people are dying. And people could take that as either, oh, I see people walking around, I see cars behind you driving. Yeah, you do. There's always going to be a few survivors, a few people who get lucky, get fuel, whatever, right? There's going to be a few of those. That's not the majority of the island, though. If you're going to do true reporting, go to the parts to where you can't get to. Don't stay in the part that seems to be comfortable. If you really want to be a real fucking reporter, go report. Go do some real goddamn journalism. And go out there and really walk over and hike over the electrical poles that's blocking everything. Because these people have no freaking house no more. Only the kitchen is probably still up, if that. Or a stairwell from their home, if that. And they're freaking drinking out of creeks. Or I've seen one instance where a gentleman knew where a local spring was at. And he tapped into the spring. And he said the spring has always been here, so this is the cleanest water we can get. The ocean around Puerto Rico is all broken from the devastation. From the mudslides and everything. There's no trees left at all. Everything's blown apart. So the recovery efforts are going to take years. Now
it's going to take decades. Honestly, it's gonna take decades.
The recovery is going to be ridiculous. The most, the positive thing I probably heard yet was when they were interviewing the mayor in the background. I heard a coqui, and the coqui is the island's national animal, which is an actual frog, a very small frog, but it's loud as hell. And it kind of chirps, coqui, and that's how it got its name. And so I felt pride when I heard that. Like, this little motherfucker survived. That's good. But again, it comes down to a lot of stuff. This could happen to Guam. This could happen to America Samoa. Obviously it happened to the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is a neighbor to Puerto Rico, very close.
Which we don't, let's talk about the U.S. Virgin Islands as well, because we can't forget about them. I haven't heard one single report about what's going on in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Have you? Like, not one single report. I couldn't tell you how many people have died.
Her family yet. And it's been close to, a month now, and she has yet to speak to her family. And every day she's crying. She's scared because her parents are out there. And from what she does know is that the island, and the crazy thing is that she actually works for the Red Cross. And so she's getting information about what's going on that she really doesn't want to hear. You know what I'm saying? And the island has been devastated. It's just gone. You know what I'm saying? So now you have Vieques as well, which is a smaller island right off the main island of Puerto Rico. No one's really talking about that either. And you have to wonder, like, it is an island. Everything's shipped there. He suspended the Jones Act for 10 days. It's going to obviously get reenacted again because the shipping companies or the shipping industry is so fucking dominant and so strong that the politicians can't fuck with him. So even if he wanted to strip away the Jones Act, the shipping industry won't let him do it. And
he's the president. He's the president of the United States, and he can at least temporarily, for more than 10 days, waive that act.
It's not about money, and it's not about self-interest.
But okay, I get that, but this is a humanitarian crisis. Listen, I get.
Shit.
But that's not okay. That's not okay.
No, it's not okay. But it's about capitalism. It's about money. Puerto Rico has nothing to export. Trust me, Puerto Rico still had gold because the island is named after being a rich port. If Puerto Rico was really still a rich port, trust me, there'd be droves of countries trying to get to Puerto Rico to help them out to get them back on their feet. Puerto Rico doesn't export shit.
Yeah, but that's not what this should be about. This should be just about helping your neighbor.
Right, and guess what? No one knows Puerto Rico's their fucking neighbor. 50% of Americans don't know that Puerto Ricans are American citizens. They don't teach that shit in the fucking school.
That's a fair point, but there's been enough, I don't want to say publicity because there really hasn't been enough coverage, but everyone knows, for the most part, that a huge hurricane hit this small island and people are dying. That should be enough. Regardless of whether they're American citizens, regardless of what they are, who they are, what race they are, what nationality they are, there are people in crisis. There are children who don't have places to sleep. It's a huge crisis. We should all be banding together and helping. And at the end of the day, that's what's happening, right? Because the government isn't doing anything. So I saw an interview with the mayor and Geraldo, which, by the way, I think Geraldo's the biggest douchebag and sellout on the planet.
I like
hope one day. What?
His mustache is pretty cool.
So he was interviewing the mayor of San Juan, and basically, in my point of view, defending the president's actions. And he said to her, you keep saying people are dying, but the death toll at the time still had only been confirmed at 16. And he says, I've been here a week and I haven't seen anyone die. Yeah, because you're held up in a functioning hotel with power and you're coming out for 4 minutes to do an interview, but is he traveling the country?
Yeah, dying is a present tense word, right? Because if you run out of water, you have 3 days left. You're in a hot ass island with no coverage no more. There's no vegetation to help you cover, and you start sweating. You start losing calories. You're dying. So
we shouldn't have to wait for people to die. We shouldn't have to wait for the death toll to be 4,000 and then say, oh hey, yeah, we need to go in there and start saving people.
Yeah, but that's the thing now. It's a game. It's a sport. And the number does make a difference. The higher the number, the more interest people have. People are more like, we're just fed. We're watching Facebook or we're on Twitter reading, or we're posting shit. We're liking shit. We're disliking shit with emojis, and it's a sport. It's a game. And
so yesterday on Facebook,
seriously.
I saw.
You can put a fucking thumbs up on Facebook, but what the fuck are you doing? And that's where we're at. People are so unsocially conscious anymore. They don't know how to be social with people in real life. That they're okay. Oh, that's their problem.
But people, I think people are doing stuff though, right? In the same interview that the mayor of San Juan had with Geraldo, she said, well, no, it's more than that. She said to him, look around, look at all the donations that we got. These are all private donations. The city of Chicago, the city of Miami, the city of New York. And then they turned the camera and she said, and that's what we got from FEMA. It was a drop in the bucket compared to what the other cities, compared to what some of the cities across the country had donated.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Additionally, yesterday on Facebook, I don't know if you saw it, there was a woman who went live on Facebook from Puerto Rico. Her name was India Colon. So if you have a chance, check her out, look her up on Facebook. And she seemed to have some military knowledge. So I think she might have been like part of the military or active military. And she was live from one of the hotels in Puerto Rico. And she said the hotels right now are just filled only with, first responders and military, FEMA. And she's like, look what's going on. They were all hanging out in the hotels. There was Spanish music playing in the background. They were eating. They were drinking. The casinos are open in San Juan. They were eating. They were drinking. They were in the casinos. And she was very upset. She's like, this is what's going on. This is all free meals for FEMA, all free meals for military, all free meals for everyone that's here. And she's like, instead of working around the clock to save lives, they're hanging out, eating and drinking. And no one's doing anything. On top of that, I heard today that FEMA for days, and some of the firefighters that are out there were sitting around for days waiting for orders. They had no orders. They didn't know what to do. And some of the firefighters just took it upon themselves to start giving out supplies because they were sitting on supplies for days. They didn't get any orders from anyone. Nothing was being done. So people are sending all these donations. Obviously the president doesn't give a shit. He's not doing much. FEMA's not doing much. So people are coming together and taking their time, their energy, their money to help Puerto Rico. And then, the supplies couldn't even get there. They were stuck in ports because of the damn Jones Act. And then when they finally did get there, no one was distributing them.
And that's where Puerto Rico now, after the devastation, needs to ensure that all Puerto Ricans, listen to me, get the fuck together, buy land, and build on it, and fucking rebuild. We cannot let these private enterprise go in there now and take our land from us because now we're in despair. We need money. We need cash, right? They offer you a bullshit amount of money for your land, and then they take it over, and it's going to become a bigger fucking this casino, like you said, or fucking more hotels. No, we can't afford to lose our culture. You know what I'm saying? So,
and that's, unfortunately, that the potential of that happening, is pretty high, right? Because Trump himself, after his presidency is over, who's to say he doesn't go in and buy all the beachfront property in Puerto Rico and put up high rises and a golf course and private enterprise will come in. But forget about the rest of the island. You can travel to San Juan and it'll be beautiful, but the rest of the island for years to come will just be total devastation.
Absolutely. And that's where we have to come in and rebuild, re-educate ourselves, and make Puerto Rico to something that can really handle the 21st century with capitalism. Straight up. Tourism for any island in the Caribbean, that's his bread and butter. No doubt about it. And like every other island, the rest of it sucks. Right? Everyone tells you travel to wherever you're going to travel to, stay in the tourist section. That's the safest place. Don't get out of it. And we can't afford to be that no more. We have to be smarter. We have to be more diligent in ensuring that education does not get cut from any fucking body's budget. You know what I'm saying? That we're teaching not just our cultures and having Spanish language, but we're teaching probably 2-3 other languages. But
that was already a problem in Puerto Rico. They closed many, many schools, I think earlier this year or last year. So education was already a problem in Puerto Rico. And now I'm sure schools are not open, right? So now kids are just sitting around. No one's going to school. No one's being educated.
No, schools are closed, obviously, because they're going to have to probably use us for shelters for a little bit longer. Now you're looking at, because of poor hygiene, there's other diseases that can come from that as well. And that's what people aren't talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where are these people going to wash up at? Where are they defecating at? People ain't talking about that. There is no toilet, so people are fucking using the bathroom wherever they can use the bathroom at. But then, how are they cleaning their hands? You know, how are they being sanitary? Now, whatever food they do get, they're cooking and doing everything to do with their dirty hands. It's gonna pass shit on. You know what I'm saying? And they really have a public health crisis if that was to happen. You know, so people need to move their fucking ass. People need to get shit going. But us as Puerto Ricans, they definitely take the responsibility that we have been doing so far and going heavier, going deeper, and rebuild. And we have to educate ourselves even more. I can't describe to you how much education process is going to play a huge part of our rebuilding into the 21st century and further. The only thing we can really export is our knowledge. And we need to get better at that. So we bring the proper companies to Puerto Rico to sustain, you know, a wealth of people with great culture and kindness. That's what you hear from everyone who is on Facebook anyway, right? All the resiliency of Puerto Ricans and the kindness they have. You know where we get that from? From the fucking Taínos. So that's how fucking Columbus fucking describes Taínos as well. They were kind fucking people. They were generous as well. And we still have that running in our fucking blood, right? And Columbus fucking tortures us and killed our fucking Taínos, and they're trying to do the same shit now. And we can't afford to let that happen a second fucking time.
Yeah, speaking about kindness, you know, Puerto Rico took in a lot of people from the other islands when they were hit by earlier hurricanes.
Absolutely. And you have a large immigration of Dominicans on there too. And those are also Puerto Rican citizens, right? American citizens. So, you know, Puerto Rico has a lot. And it's actually very diverse compared to what other people may think that it is. And we just need to take charge. We have to. And you have to figure out, if you're going to donate, that's great. And if you're going to help, that's great as well. But you have to find out, what is your skill set and at what stage do you help in? You know, maybe you don't help right now, maybe because you can't get there. Obviously, if you know, I think the airport just got back up again, regular flights, but where the hell are you going to stay? You know what I'm saying? How are you going to move around? So you just may be in the way. You know what I'm saying? But at what stage can you help at? Because we're going to need help, like I said, for a few years. And the rebuilding stage is going to take time. And we need we need people to help us out. We need Puerto Ricans to come back to the island. You know, there was a cruise ship that took a bunch of Puerto Ricans to Florida. And will they ever come back? Don't know. They don't have to because they're Americans, right? So
that's the part that kind of makes me sad a little bit, is that so many people are going to be forced to leave the island, and so many people are going to be forced to have to come to the mainland. And, you know, obviously there's much more opportunity here than there was in Puerto Rico and that there currently is in Puerto Rico. But, you know, once people settle, you know, it's hard to go back to nothing, right? So it makes me sad that so many people, obviously I understand, you know, coming here, right? Like, if I lived in Puerto Rico, I would want to get here too because I have a child and I want my child to continue to be in school, and then, you know, I would want to work to kind of rebuild our lives and, you know, and make it so that, you know, my child doesn't have to live in total devastation. And if I could get a flight and come in, I would. But it's really sad that, you know, if people leave, then, like, to your point, we're going to lose our culture. You know, so many people left Puerto Rico after, because of the economic crisis there, right? I think I read an article, well, I know I read an article, but I read an article today, and I think the number was somewhere between 2013 and 2016, nearly 500,000 people left New York for the States because, left Puerto Rico for the States. And some of the cities that they came to were New York, Florida, and I think Chicago was the other one, because of the economic crisis there, you know? So just to think, after this total devastation, how many people will leave the island? Who's gonna be left? It's so sad because I think about, like, my son. You know, I never had the opportunity to take him to Puerto Rico, and I talked about it all the time. And, you know, we were kept saying, oh, maybe we'll plan a trip. this year to Puerto Rico, and now, will I ever be able to take my son to Puerto Rico? I have cousins on my dad's side who recently, buried their mom in the town of Salinas, and I read on Facebook the other day my cousin put Salinas is gone. Like there's no road to Salinas, and she's like, I may never be able to visit my mother's grave again. Like it's so sad. People are losing their history. They're losing, so much of who they are, and it really, really frustrates me that we're just not doing enough. Like, okay, we can't say that we as the country aren't doing anything, because obviously there are people out there and there were supplies that have been taken out there, but we're not doing enough, and we're not moving fast enough, and we're not looking to help people rebuild. The same woman that was on Facebook yesterday, India Cologne, was saying that she had toured the island twice in about 6 days, and she had visited 32 towns in 6 days. And of those 32 towns, not one town that FEMA had arrived there, that any type of relief had arrived there. And there were people waiting like hours in line to get cash out of the one bank that was open. And to her point, she's like, they should not be getting cash. Like, it was declared a disaster. Like, FEMA should be in there trying to reach each of those people, relocating them, giving them some kind of funds or stipends, or I don't know, like something.
Absolutely.
People are really left to their own to figure it out. There's no communication on most of the island still, 2 weeks after the storm. People, at this point, no one's come to look for you. So at this point, you give up, right? You give up hope. You don't think anyone's going to come now. It's been 2 weeks. If no one's coming in the last 2 weeks, so now you have to go into survival mode, which is another problem that that's not being broadcast here, is the crime that's being committed. Puerto Rico was already a pretty crime-filled, island to begin with. And a friend of mine, when she texted me, she said to me that there was the news reports that people were being, I lost my train of thought. There was news reports that people were fighting and killing each other over gas and water, and that was a week ago.
And you know what? You're gonna have a level of that. You're gonna have these areas where people have to do what they have to do. Like, my child is more important than your child. And that's what it's gonna come down to. I'm hoping, from what I'm hearing right now, that most people are being very neighborly, and they're just putting whatever they do have together to make meals for each other. And that's the way to go, right? If I have a can of beans and you got some rice, Papa, let's put it together. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a chicken, let's see that bitch lays an egg today, because we're gonna have a poor man's meal. And that's what the stories are. And then I think that's where we have to look at that silver lining. And is it ever going to be fast or quick enough? No. Are we going to lose more people? Yes. Are people that are going to come to the mainland go back to Puerto Rico? Maybe not. And you may be surprised. Maybe some will go back to rebuild, because they're going to say, wow, this is what the state says. Because some people never left Puerto Rico. They don't know what the mainland is, right? It's no different than someone not ever leaving Iowa. You know what I'm saying? And when they get to another state, they're like, oh, this is what can happen, this is what you can do. And they'll learn and take that back home. So I'm hoping that happens as well, right? And we will rebuild, and the island will be better or stronger. But we have to be smart about it. We have to look at the future and how to build these places out of fucking wood. We have to, do it out of concrete. This home that, our aunt has a home on stilts. It's made out of concrete. I'm sure her house is fucking fine. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that was one of the things, like when the storm first hit, just like talking to people, and one of the first things that people would ask me, and I would ask people, would be, does your family have a wooden house or a cement house? Because if you had a wooden house, chances are that the house was gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even some of the cement houses, my friend told me a couple, her windows were blown out. She said she had about 5 trees, like literally land in her backyard. And of course, people will, in times like this, people go either one of two ways. They become, total humanitarians and are willing to help in any other way, or there are people who totally take advantage of the system, right? And my friend said to me she had these trees and, they were trying to get them out and they wanted to charge her $600 to remove the trees. Now, we have to remember that this is a country that was already in an economic crisis. If that happened in New York and I had a bunch of trees land in my backyard and someone said to me, I'll remove them for $600, I'd be writing a check and be like, get these damn trees out of my backyard. But $600 is a lot of money to people in Puerto Rico.
It's a lot of money. And their pricing, because they're on an island, is outrageous as well. So it doesn't equate, what the payments are, right? So I don't want to keep on dragging this out. We know that the orange idiot went there, he's fucking tossing fucking paper towels like he's at a stadium shooting T-shirts in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like, then he has a little meeting with the governor next to him and all the mayors. And the governor was, if you look at the governor's face, he wasn't happy. He just stood quiet.
The governor, he's a little bit of a douchebag too. Like I'm gonna be honest. I don't know enough. I don't know a whole lot about the governor, but I know this. I know that he hasn't really been the face of Puerto Rico. I know that he seems to like really only do things when the camera's on. I know that he, greeted the president when he landed, which I guess is like the politically correct thing to do. But you know what? I got a country in devastation. You need to catch me when you can. Like right now, I need to save lives. The mayor of San Juan, there are pictures of her in water waist deep. When this first happened, I remember an interview with her saying, the only way to find people is to just go one by one right now. And she was literally going door by door. There was family members that she hadn't been in contact with. She's lost her home, and through it all, she's there being helpful. And people may have different opinions about her. I didn't even know who she was until all this happened, to be honest with you. But what I've seen is that the governor of Puerto Rico hasn't really said a whole lot.
No, he hasn't. Because he's letting her take the brunt of the assault from Washington. He's being politically correct, and I can't talk about his way of thinking because I don't know his way of thinking. And the only thing I can speculate is that he may feel like I may just have to be nice to get my people shit. And there's gonna be always two ways of doing things, right? Fuck that, I'm gonna be loud and abrasive, or you know what? I gotta play the part, just try to get people here. And try to work with this fucking idiot. So you just don't know. You're hoping that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? But to your point, even when I saw him in the meeting, he looked like he just didn't want to be there to me either, though. Like he was sitting right next to President Hump, and if you saw his face, he looked like he was just drawn and disengaged too. He was just like, "Dude, just be gone." Like, how dare you tell us that we had. You got your budget out of whack. Like, who says shit like that? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a crisis, now your budget's out of whack. So it comes down to a lot of variables. The only thing I can say is that keep on donating. Again, figure out what stage that you can help in the rebuilding process, because your particular skill sets might not be needed as of right now, but in the near future and future, it may be needed. You know what I'm saying? And so don't feel like
That's the only way the people of Puerto Rico are really going to come above this, is that we have to get together as just humans. And to your point, maybe you can't help now, but maybe there'll be an opportunity for you to help in the future when just right after the storm hit.
What we need to do is really get, we need to talk probably offline, definitely, and talk about how we can network and get some people involved. But then we need to probably contact Habitat for Humanity and find out, What is your plan to help out Puerto Rico and get people into homes and build? Because that's part of America. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
What are those next steps? What did they do in Louisiana? We may have to, mimic that. You know what I'm saying? Of course, modernize some of it because it's the island and whatever we need to do, but we may have to that kind of mirror image of that. But we need to definitely talk offline and see what we need to do and get our hats together with some other people, network a little bit, and figure out what is the next steps to try to help out on our side and what stage that is in. And I can't say that enough. And my biggest thing right now is about Puerto Ricans getting educated, and that should be a focus in Puerto Rico, making sure that our older generation of Puerto Ricans get re-educated so they can place themselves in better jobs, and then our younger generation needs to get into computer programming, coding, the tech industry, and really become a direct force of where people want to hire Puerto Ricans or even maybe transfer or make a satellite division of their company in Puerto Rico because of the knowledge base that they have there. Companies going to go to where the knowledge is at. You know what I'm saying? Then there's a bunch of smart people on this side of town. They're going to build their office there. They're going to go.
But what you're talking about is a long time coming too, right?
Yeah,
like I don't disagree with you. I do agree that the people of Puerto Rico probably need to, move more into, the modern day. But right now they just need water.
No doubt.
Right now
they just need water. Right now they just need a can of beans, some rice, and some bending on the grill. I get that. But at the same time too, we got to think forward. Because that's what our job is, right? Yes, let's get them some water. Then our job is to instill that and on the island as well. Say, yo, we're educated. Let's see what we can do to help these people and progress further. If we don't, then that culture is gonna fucking die. Plain and simple.
There's got to be incentives though for people to
Barbuda is fucking gone. You know what I'm saying? There's no fucking island of Barbuda.
No one, yeah.
It's just gone. What happens to that culture now? You know what I'm saying? Look at Hawaii. Hawaiians are a caricature of themselves, right? You go to Hawaii, you want to get a lei in your neck, you want to see a girl in a grass skirt, and you want to see a guy, twist the fire and put it in his mouth. I don't want Puerto Rico to become that, but we have a straw fucking hat and we're hitting congos. You know what I'm saying? And then that's it. And you see a fucking pig on a spigot that's turning. And you say, oh, I went to Puerto Rico, this is what we had. I got a straw hat, I need some pig on a spigot, and then we're playing some congos. I don't want that to be Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is more than just that. Just like Hawaii.
A part of me believes though that the people of Puerto Rico won't allow that to happen because Puerto Rican people are very proud of just the fact that they're Puerto Rican, right? We were saying the other day, there's more Puerto Ricans in New York than they are in the actual island, right? It's like I think 5 million Puerto Ricans in New York, and there's 3 million, 3.4 million, 3.5 on the island. And I don't know if it was you I was saying this to or someone else, but I said, that number is really the 5 million that are in New York. It's really inflated because I identify myself as a Puerto Rican, but I'm really not, right? My parents both Puerto Rican. Well, actually, my mother isn't. She was born in Metropolitan Hospital. So, my dad. So I'm like, half Puerto Rican, really, because I wasn't born on the island. But Puerto Ricans, even they could be 3 or 4 generations deep in New York or in the States, and they still will identify themselves as Puerto Ricans.
Absolutely, and that's absolutely right. Prideful. I think there's 5 million Puerto Ricans throughout the states. There's actually about 700,000 in New York, which is the largest Hispanic group in New York, and it's amazing because now we're traveling, we're migrating, right? And there was over 1 million Puerto Ricans in New York at one time, and the number went down, and that's fine because now we're throughout the states now. Now you can find a Puerto Rican in almost every state. You know what I'm saying? And that's a great thing. That's what happens when you get education. You get and you want to move and discover. We need to make sure that the Puerto Ricans on the island get the help that they need to rebuild. We need to make sure the Puerto Ricans that come over here get the help that they need to survive in the States and to get adjusted to, right? And we need to take care of our own. Plain and simple. The Jews do it all the fucking time. They take care of their own. You know what I'm saying? You go into
That was mad racist. I just wanted to know
No,
that.
it's just the truth. You go into an Italian neighborhood that take care of their own. You go into, an Asian neighborhood that take care of their own. We got to do the same fucking thing. We got to take care of our own because obviously we can't depend on nobody else. You know what I'm saying? So we got to feed ourselves. We got to grow our own shit. We got to sell our own shit. And they were going after statehood before this thing happened. The governor did go ahead and try to get petition in Congress about us becoming the 51st state, and they kind of pushed it aside a little bit because of the debt. But we got to take care of our own land. We got to build it back up, and we got to show value back into the island again, and that's all it's about. And right now, our pride is our value, and we got to help our people out, and we're gonna be okay. There's gonna be more deaths, absolutely, and we need to recover from it. Point blank, period. But we can't let it be forgotten. We still got to post shit. We still got to talk about shit. We have to update people on it because I don't want it to be yesterday's news. I don't want it to just be on the next news cycle and that's it. You know what I'm saying? This story is not over. This is a long-ass story to cover. You know what I'm saying? And we got to make sure as Puerto Ricans in the mainland that we don't let shit fucking slide. And that whatever post you get, any news feed you get, any family member feed that you get, post that shit on your Instagram, on your Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media shit you do, post it because everybody's going to keep on sharing it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we need. And if we got to share it in our own local community, which is us, then that's fine. But we need to figure out certain ways of how to get shit done. Plain and simple. Celebrities are cool, but they have to work too. They got to do their own thing after a little while. You know what I'm saying? What is the everyday man going to help out with? What are you going to do?
No, I agree. Right after the hurricane hit, there were several fire departments throughout New York City, stations that were accepting donations. So I took my son over there. Because my son, he could be a little bit of a, a little cold sometimes, right? He's a 5-year-old. He's not interested in nothing. But I want to teach him about helping others and how important it is really to have empathy for others. So, I said to him, pick out some toys. Pick out some toys. I'm laughing because kids are so funny. I'm pick out some toys that you don't play with anymore, and we can donate them to kids in Puerto Rico because all their toys got washed away in the hurricane. And he was like, "Mommy, I play with all my toys," which is a bold-faced lie, right? He plays with 3 toys out of the 50 billion he has in his bedroom. But anyway, he was more willing to give up clothes. So we got some clothes together and we went to the firehouse. And it turned out that they weren't accepting clothes. It was diapers and feminine hygiene products, which made sense. So baby food and things like that. So I was like, okay. So I was actually on my way to the supermarket. We went to the supermarket and we bought a bunch of baby food, and then we went back to the firehouse. And as I was giving it to one of the guys there, I said to him, I was very I was overwhelmed because there was a line of cars in front of the fire station, all people donating, and people was I don't know, I came with $30 of baby food, but people were bringing in boxes, feminine hygiene products and just cases of stuff. I live in the Bronx, and people be like, "Oh, you live in the Bronx? The Bronx is scary or whatever." But people were just so selfless, right? There was a line of cars there. People were taking things out of their cars, and it just made me proud because I was just even though our government is doing shit, because at that point, it was really shit going on. There was when I looked into the firehouse, there was just pallets and pallets of donations. And I said to one of the firefighters, I'm like, is this really going to go to Puerto Rico? Because at the end of the day, people are giving out of the kindness of their hearts, out of their own generosity. And you expect that it's going to get to where it needs to be. And I'm all about donating. When I donate, I don't care where it goes. So I just wanted to go to someone who needs it. But this was, a true crisis. And the firefighter was like, no, he's like, it's absolutely all going, to I think Puerto Rico and Mexico is where it was going. Mexico had those severe earthquakes right around the same time that the hurricane in Puerto Rico hit. So he said to me, "Oh, we had 3 trucks that came already this morning. There's another truck on the way, and it's all like going to be distributed." And it made me so proud. And then days later, I was really annoyed because I thought about all those people who had gone there, taken time out of their day, had invested their money to donate, and then nothing was being fucking distributed. So it's just frustrating. But to your point, we have to continue to help. We have to continue to support, our Puerto Rican, neighbors. And if the government's not going to do anything, we have to just keep it alive and keep reminding people that, a month from now, it's not going to be the topic anymore, right? It's not going to be the hot topic on CNN, on Fox or anything, but people still are going to need. They're a long way away from getting back to normal everyday life.
And I encourage people who visit the island that either decide to go earlier than the other people can. Take photos, take video, and post it. So we need all the insight that we can get, because like Jada said, the news is going to move on. The next news cycle is going to come over. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be up to us to keep it there. And our personal news is going to be what? It's going to be Facebook. It's going to be Twitter. It's going to be Instagram. And we need to keep ourselves abreasted and up to date as far as what's going on. So if you do have a feel-good story because the city that your family's from is doing well when you went to visit, put that up there. But you are from another city to where they haven't been touched yet, put that shit up there. Because then that way we can use our power to make decisions on how to help people out there. We have to make things known. And people are not going to be able to do nothing unless they know about it. So I encourage everyone who does go out to the island to post what they can about where they're from or where their family is from, or whatever stuff, engagement you may get from your family. They may text you a video or send you a video through email or whatever. Post that right away, man, so that we can share it between each other as brothers and sisters and really figure out what's the next move that we may need to do. You know what I'm saying? Because FEMA's not going to be there forever. The military is not going to be there forever. They're going to have to leave. Not soon, but they will have to leave eventually. And what happens then? It's going to be left on us. So I challenge everyone to really step that part up. You know what I'm saying? Because if we don't, then we're just going to fail our whole entire culture. Plain and simple. So.
Mm-hmm. I kind of agree with you for once on all of that, John.
My man, you should be freaking agreeing with me all the time. I say that shit. Like,
oh, my man.
You're an independent woman, right? My man. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, let's get this straight. Like, I got an 8th grade education. You know what I'm saying? I went to automotive high school for about a month. So, right here you're talking to, I know my shit. You know what I'm saying?
I really feel like your like empathetic side came on today.
It did, I kind of put Johnny aside and Raphael came out. You know what I'm saying? So
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? So I have to make sure I speak up for my people, and and like I said, we just have to make sure we don't let the news or us forget about shit. I know we have lives, we get busy, we got family to take care of them every day, but this has to become part of our everyday. This has to become part of our conversation at the dinner table. This has to become a conversation at the budget table. We're doing the bills at the end of the month, and we still need donations. If it's still a can of beans you could donate, I know people are tight. Whatever you can, that's what we're gonna have to do. So I would say, cut your ties off at the church. Thank you to Puerto Rico. You know what I'm saying? Like, the church really got enough money from you, so go ahead and try to turn that around and get that 10% to Puerto Rico instead. Like,
don't get started with the church. Don't piss somebody off now.
I don't care. Listen, people love me and they hate me. You know what I'm saying?
All at the same time.
People love to hate me. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. So, but I'm glad you agree with me, because that means you're finally listening to me and shit makes sense to you, which is great.
No, all it means is that you have a little bit of a heart somewhere in that little body of yours. And
You really really make me sound like I'm the fucking Grinch. Like I'm some evil motherfucker out there. I hate the word. It's far from true. It's far from true. Don't believe her, people, because she gets all of you by her little giggle, and she talks real fancy and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know, her fancy words, and then you see her on Instagram posting her stuff like her hair blowing in the wind, and I'm like, where is that? Like she's inside a building. How is her hair flowing in the wind? Like, out your face, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
I got the inside scoop from Mariah. You know, everywhere Mariah goes, her hair be blowing.
Yeah, so someone in front of you with a freaking fan with one blade. That's what happened. Just blowing in the face out of his air.
So stupid. But no, yeah, definitely. We got to keep donating. We got to keep it at the forefront. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So let's make sure, you know, and then I make sure that once we have updates that we'll put into the podcast, to make sure we do our part in keeping it thriving and alive and not just deading it. You know what I'm saying? So make sure we do our job on that part and make sure we have correct information before we go ahead and post some stuff. But definitely be looking out for that. So that's for small updates while we have our weekly topics and stuff like that. So, yo, great combo, Z. I gotta say, like, I actually enjoyed talking to an independent woman tonight. That's
only because we were in agreement. That's the only reason why you enjoyed it. But it's all right. I'm sure our next topic will be a little bit more controversial because I think I needed something a little bit lighter for the next one. Because all this Puerto Rico stuff is happening so like down. We gotta take it light next time, guys.
Oh, we're not Johnny, y'all. This is Zeta. This is Crossing the Lines, as we always do. Yo, be safe. I guess on Zeta's side, be godly.
Oh, Lord. Until the next one.
Until the next one, guys. See ya.